Brian Hamilton joins us here on Big Board Sports, the Fieldhouse, new college basketball website for The Athletic, former Sports Illustrated Chicago Tribune reporter, and reacting to the dark day in college basketball that is only going to get darker as we move forward here with the U.S. Attorney's Office, FBI arresting 4 Division I basketball coaches and 6 others yesterday on bribery and fraud charges. Good morning, Brian Hamilton.
How are you guys doing?
Good, Brian. Appreciate a few minutes.
Yeah.
Does any of this surprise you?
Surprise that it happens, no. But I think that anytime your sport is brought up, in front of the world by the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office, it's a bracing moment. You said it was kind of a dark day for college basketball. I think there's 2 sides of it. It's certainly a black eye that a lot of this stuff we know goes on. And as journalists, and frankly the NCAA as well, we don't have the subpoena power. We don't have the ability to compel testimony like the federal government does. We don't have the power to get wiretaps, so it's hard to get at it, but the feds got at it. So in that way, laying bare what happens in college basketball is a dark day. But there were coaches on Twitter yesterday. I had coaches texting me too, thinking this may be a net positive down the line where there's some sort of cleanup with college basketball that goes on. I'm not really sure how that happens, given the limited scope of the NCAA's ability to kind of get after this stuff. But there are coaches out there who think, look, this is a black eye, and people are going to paint us all with a broad brush. But maybe, just maybe, there's some change that comes out of this that cleans up all the dirt.
How many college coaches huddled yesterday or huddling this morning with assistant coaches and director of compliance and everything else going, all right, hey, what do I need to know? What has anything happened in this program that would get us into trouble with what's going on right now? How much of that is going on, Brian?
Yeah, I think any coach that's responsible and any athletics department that's responsible had some sort of meeting to that level. Again, I think there are coaches who probably are pretty confident they do things the right way, where they're not paying $100,000, $150,000, or at least they aren't complicit in a shoe company paying that money to recruit, as was alleged by the feds yesterday. So I'm not sure that you're talking about panicked, closed-door meetings at every program across the country. It might have been more like a few texts, a couple phone calls. But sure, there are probably a good number of programs that are huddling right now and trying to figure out, who knows what, who's done what, and maybe bracing for the worst. But again, I'm not trying to be a toady or a shill for college basketball here. I think there are probably hundreds of coaches in the country who slept well last night. I think there are probably a lot of coaches who didn't. So we'll see. That should all come out in the wash here, and possibly pretty quickly over the next few days.
And Rick Pitino is one of them, and this is just coming out just now. I just saw this on ESPN.com. Louisville basketball coach Rick Pitino has told members of his coaching staff that he expects to lose his job over allegations the Cardinals basketball program is involved in a federal investigation into fraud and corruption in college basketball recruiting. That coming out just now on ESPN.com.
Yeah, that's completely unsurprising at this point. And look, let's be clear with Rick Pitino. This is not a case of this happened and Rick Pitino will lose his job because of it. This is an accumulation of stuff with Rick Pitino. This goes back, you can go back all the way to his days as an assistant coach at Hawaii, but then you come up to Louisville, Karen Cypher, Andre McGee, now the alleged connection between Adidas and Brian Bowen, their 5-star recruit. This could be the final straw, but that's what it is. It's a final straw. I think as much as Louisville is a fanatical fan base and loves their basketball, I don't think the power brokers at Louisville are going to put up with the school being embarrassed. And frankly, I think there's probably enough hubris there to say that, okay, Rick, you're a really good basketball coach and you won a lot of games for us, but we can find another really good basketball coach that's going to win a lot of games for us and not have our university dragged through scandal after scandal, which is kind of what it feels like at Louisville right now, fairly or unfairly. So the fact that Rick Pitino is going to lose his job over this probably is not really a matter of if, Not really much of a matter of when. I would suspect that happens today officially. It's really just a matter of how much it's going to cost Louisville to make that decision.
Brian Hamilton of The Athletic with us here on Big Board Sports 104.5, the Team ESPN Radio. You can find Brian on Twitter at _Brian_Hamilton. It's a discussion for another day, Brian, but this, lends itself to 2020 hindsight here, that it's a dangerous game to put coaches into the Hall of Fame before their days on the sidelines are done. And now, you're going to look at Rick Pitino, and I know a lot of people will bring up a name like John Calipari already being into the Hall of Fame without all the dust being settled. You've been around college basketball programs much more than I have. Do you lend any credence to the idea that a head basketball coach at a major Division I university would not or may not know what's going on in the offices of his assistant coaches?
I think some, but not a lot, put it that way. I do think there's sort of a, I know nothing, don't ask, don't tell policy, probably, that goes on. But I think that's why the NCAA instituted rules to say, look, you're in charge of your program, you should know what's going on. And they should. I mean, these are coaches who are paid millions and millions of dollars running what in a lot of places is a multi-million-dollar a year industry, a business for that school. They should know what's going on. So I have no doubt that coaches know some of this. I have no doubt they also, some of these high-profile coaches that may have assistants involved in this stuff, throw up a firewall that they thought would protect them. But that firewall protects you against the reach of the NCAA. Most of these coaches probably don't expect the federal government to come in blazing and get at it. They investigate things differently than the NCAA can. I think I saw somebody on Twitter put it perfectly. It was kind of like the NCAA is the homeowners association and the feds are literally the police. Like, that's the difference in what you can sort of get at in terms of investigation. So do I think the coaches know all about this stuff? I think they try not to know about it. But that doesn't mean they can't and shouldn't be held culpable.
Ryan, what's going to happen next? I mean, how much more is going to come out here with this investigation?
It's interesting. I think we're going to see some stuff over the next few days. I mean, schools are going to kind of piece together. Louisville obviously admitted they were part of this investigation. We see the fallout coming already. Other schools know, but maybe have not admitted they're part of the investigation. They're going to get information, probably, I assume, from the federal government in some way. And if they see that, the target is on their coaching staff, I would assume that other coaches may lose their jobs over the next few days. The one thing I started wondering about overnight, this is a serious thing, but the government holds press conferences not for the same reason, we see press conferences every week. It's not because, the Bills coach is out there talking about a matchup with the defense that week, and the government holds a press conference to be a spectacle, to shock people and to scare people into cooperating, as they kind of indicated yesterday. So, I wonder if at the end of the day, it's really hard to get people to not only roll over, but then turn it into prosecutable offenses, to build cases. You'll have cooperative witnesses, but how far can you take that information? I don't know. I think more will come out of it. I started to wonder overnight how much more, because it's going to take a lot for the government to get after people who are going to lawyer up, who are going to throw up walls and try to protect themselves. I don't doubt that some people will roll over. I don't doubt there will be some flipping. I wonder how much is actually going to come out of it down the line.
Hey, Brian, you can call me naive or altruistic, whatever you want, but, I want to watch South Carolina make a run to the Final Four and not worry about who may be doing what behind the scenes, a former assistant coach, and is that why they're getting so far in the big dance? I want to enjoy the game for what it is once the season gets rolling. Do you think this has any long-lasting effect on the fan base of college basketball?
Only in a certain way. I think fans, and I don't mean this to sort of disrespect what you just said or disrespect fans in any way, but like you said, they want to watch a game. They want to enjoy a game. They kind of want to blissfully see the sport unfold in front of them and not think about what goes into making the sausage. Well, I think in a way you can't ignore now the recruiting part of it. I think it's impossible for fans to sit there and credulously believe this fairy tale that, you know, the top 5, top 10 recruit just fell in love with University X and it's such a great fit. Like, that's been a lie for a long time, and fans have just sort of been able to ignore that lie because they don't have the proof that it's a lie. Well, now we have the proof in black and white that a lot of times that's just a lie. Kids get funneled to where they want to go. As far as the on-court action goes, you know, I think people like yourself, I think people are going to sit back and they're going to enjoy the games. Like, when we open the field house on Monday, it's not going to be all scandal all the time. You know, we're going to have an analysis of this, but we're also going to have plenty of other stuff that previews this season and focuses on the personalities and important people in college basketball. So I think there's going to be a balance that everyone's trying to find. Enjoy the games, understand that maybe there are some things about college basketball that need to change. I do think people are going to have to really consider the truth of what they're hearing in the recruiting process, though.
Brian Hamilton, appreciate a few minutes. The Fieldhouse, former Sports Illustrated Chicago Tribune reporter on the big story of this morning, not only locally, but really a national story that is a big story around the country today. Brian, appreciate a few minutes on Big Board Sports.
No problem, guys.
Thank you, Brian.